Welcome back. We'll be joined on the program by the CEO of the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, that's the CIPS, Mr. Ben Farrell, joining us right here in our Lagos City. Mr. Farrell, good to see you and thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Great to see you. And this is my first trip to Nigeria, first time in Lagos this morning. Fantastic.
How have you seen Nigeria so far? Have you eaten anything local?
Oh, yes, yes.
What did you eat?
And I arrived, do you know what? I arrived on Sunday morning. It was 4 a.m. in Abuja. And I arrived, everybody's tired, we got off the aeroplane, and we got such a fantastic welcome by the people there. It was a joy. And you know what, one of the team from the CIPS volunteers was there to meet me at the airport. It couldn't have been a better reception, and hats off to the welcome I've had coming to Nigeria. And I've been to a lot of countries this year, actually, in my job, so I've really enjoyed it. It's a pleasure. It really is a pleasure to be here. We've had a brilliant trip.
Fantastic. I'm sure you'll be here to talk with Nigerians and maybe other Africans as far as the issue of procurement is concerned. But let's begin generically within the time we have as to why the conversation around procurement is important.
Yes, I keep saying that this is the moment where the stars have aligned through the nature of global supply chains, the way the world is operating. Even if you took what happened recently with the tariffs out of the United States, I think people begin to understand how connected our world is. And I know that in Nigeria you would like to import less, manufacture more, but your supply chain into Nigeria is so connected to the wider world. How this operates efficiently and effectively is increasingly important, and that's why the role of CIPS, Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, is ever more important. And I've been travelling, talking to governments, and that's why we're here. We've signed an MOU this week with the Bureau of Public Procurement, and we are here. You know, I've been able to announce that our intention is to set up a permanent presence here to work alongside the public and the private sector in Nigeria to drive efficiency, value for money, ethical standards. You know, this is what we've been doing around the world since CIPS came into existence in 1932. And we want to have a much stronger presence here, and we think this is a great opportunity for Nigeria to really flourish, and we're going to help that. That's our plan.
You know, procurement is one term that you think you know and understand, but then it's something you take for granted.
Yeah.
Particularly when you speak to the EFCC, that's Nigeria's lead anti-corruption agency, or the ICPC, they tell you that a huge chunk of corruption happens during procurement, in that procurement, you know, line in that sense. So it speaks to how important procurement is. So I want you to break it down even further so people can begin to understand how procurement works, whether it's in government or in the private space. So we begin to pay attention, because a lot of corruption happens there, at least half of corruption happens in that procurement process. So break it down for government, private sector. What does procurement mean, and why is it important for us to pay attention to it yet again?
I suppose it's sort of defined as our collective securing of deals related to goods and services for the most effective total landed cost, i.e. its value. It's about the value you get in terms of monetary terms. You might include sustainability within that. It may be best related to your overall business objective, the goods and services that you utilize to deliver your organization's output most effectively. And on the way to getting those, you need to find the best way of achieving that, and that's what procurement does. It goes out to the market and establishes the most effective way of delivering your outputs as an organization, whether that's through goods and services or whatever is relevant to your organization at that time.
So to reiterate, or to break it down further, so an organization needs to get furniture.
Yes.
And a furniture or set of furniture is meant to be 200,000 naira.
Yeah.
But the whole process. But you find out a lot of times that the price quoted is like 1 million. And that's where the corruption is. So you're saying that we can actually achieve the 200,000 naira.
Well, yeah, let me give you a really good worked example of what's happening here in Nigeria with one of our teams. We have a team led by a man called Chukwudi Uche in Abuja, who's working on a project we call Health Procurement Africa. And this is about the provision of medical supplies in 8 states. And his work has improved the availability of drugs, which is improving infant mortality. and also reduce the cost of drugs for all the reasons you're describing, because it's transparent, the process is increasingly transparent. Go out to the market and you find different suppliers offering different price points. So you begin to get a process in place that gets the outcome that you're seeking. Also through CIPS, we have a standard, and I'm recommending to any organisation that they adopt our standards. And in and amongst those standards, there's ethical training, how to contract and commercially operate within an ethical setting. And I think this is incredibly important, because the point you're making, I keep hearing often here where I'm going about how we establish an ethical framework. So we're encouraging everybody. In fact, the biggest encouragement I'd give is perhaps at a national level, adopting procurement, rather like if you're an accountant or a lawyer, you need a standard. Through CIPS, we set a global standard, and I think anybody, particularly spending public money, should be required to qualify, and that would get you to a level where you're very, very competent at it and also operate ethically. I think this is incredibly important as a way ahead.
And I wonder if you've heard about Nigeria has a recently adopted policy called Nigeria First.
Yes.
You've heard about it.
Yes.
And so ministries, departments and agencies are supposed to prioritize buying Nigeria in all of their requirements to execute their work.
Yeah.
And one of the first elements in that policy approach is to get a list of manufacturers. So from the standpoint of a professional, perhaps you were giving the contract to execute that policy on behalf of Nigeria's MDAs. What would you be recommending, and how much do you think you can help Nigeria save?
If you can do that in 30 seconds.
Of course. Well, I think we have a set of guidelines and policies which would allow people to understand what they need in their supply base, scrutinize their supply base. We're going to work with the BPP on a procurement strategy for Nigeria, and this is going to get to the heart of the issue around you were describing around Nigeria First and local content. And this is incredibly important to drive the economy, and that's what we're going to help with, driving the economy.
Fantastic. We're happy you're here because we need these processes to be regularized and updated and improved upon so that we have the best for the people in terms of value for money within our public sector. Mr. Ben Farrell is the CEO of Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, CIPS, joining us in our Lagos City. And welcome to Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
You're going to have a good time. Trust me. You're going to have a good time.
And we'll give you a Nigerian name.
Thank you.
We'll give you 3 names. All right. Well, that's it on the program. Thanks for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
The Sunrise Daily is up next, so stay with Channels Television. I am Bukola Toka.
I'm Karadoki Kulu. To have a great day.